Have you ever felt that certain people come into your life as if they were sent by something bigger? As if, somehow, fate was silently lining everything up for that meeting to happen? It's not just a coincidence, there's an invisible force at work behind the scenes. According to Carl Jung's philosophy, the universe communicates with us all the time, especially when it comes to deep connections, those that transform who we are and make us see the world with different eyes. Imagine, for a moment, that true love or the right person for you is already on the way. That there are clear but subtle signs pointing in the direction of this inevitable encounter. But are you aware of these signs? Are you ready to recognize when the universe is trying to show you something? Or rather, anyone? In this video, we will delve into Jung's teachings to understand how the collective unconscious, synchronicity, and archetypes influence our relationships. You'll find out what the signs are that indicate a connection goes far beyond chance. And it may be just what your soul has been waiting for. Before we continue, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Here, we explore the deepest ideas of the human mind, spirituality, philosophy, and psychology in a simple and transformative way. If you like content that awakens awareness and brings clarity to your journey, this is your place. Now, take a deep breath and pay attention. Because if the universe really wants you to be with someone, it will let you know. And the signs? Well, the signs are more telling than you might think. Let's go to the first of them. Sometimes the universe speaks with a whisper. Other times, he screams through coincidences. Carl Jung called these seemingly random events synchronicities, events that, while unrelated, have deep symbolic significance for those who experience them. It is these moments that make you stop, reflect, and feel that there is something bigger in motion. Think of that unexpected encounter. That person you saw once, and then, inexplicably, began to appear repeatedly in your life. It doesn't matter the place, the day of the week, or the context. You keep crossing paths. It's not just luck or romantic movie fate. This could be a sign that something is being orchestrated beyond your rational comprehension. Jung believed that the collective unconscious, a deep layer of the human psyche where universal symbols and patterns live, is constantly influencing our choices, emotions, and even the relationships we attract. When two people are in tune with these inner archetypes, the universe begins to conspire to bring them together. It is as if the energies are recognizing each other even before the conscious mind understands. Another powerful clue comes from the physical and emotional sensations that arise when you are around this person. It's not about ordinary anxiety or butterflies in the stomach. It is something deeper, a feeling of instant familiarity, as if you have known that being for a long time. As if something inside you finally calms down, finding a peace that is difficult to explain. These feelings don't come out of nowhere. They're reflections of what Jung called the anima and animus, the archetypes that represent our hidden side and complete us psychologically. When we find someone who mirrors this internal aspect, the impact is immediate. Also, pay attention to the conversations that come up between you. It doesn't matter if the conversation starts with banal subjects. Suddenly, there is a depth that goes beyond the superficial. You share similar ideas, complementary worldviews, and even silently understand each other. Communication flows with a disconcerting naturalness. It is as if the soul recognizes the other before the words even make sense. This kind of connection transcends logic. It's emotional, energetic, spiritual. And then there are the external signs, those that seem to be games from the universe. A specific song that always plays when you're thinking about the person. A book that they both love even though they have never talked about it. Repeated numbers on the clock. Intense and symbolic dreams. Don't underestimate these subtle messages. Jung saw in them the proof that there is a deeper order behind the apparent chaos of life. The universe has its own way of organizing important encounters. When you start paying attention to the signs, you realize that the coincidences are just clues, fragments of a larger puzzle. With each new indication, intuition is strengthened, and the path becomes clearer. What once seemed random now makes sense. And even if you still don't understand everything rationally, something inside you knows you're on the right track. But how to differentiate a true sign from a projected desire? How do we know if it is the universe acting or just its lack creating illusions? That's where the importance of better understanding your own unconscious and identifying the next big signal that may be hiding comes in, right where you least expect it. Not every sign of the universe is grand or mystical. Sometimes it manifests itself in the simplicity of a constant sensation, that intuition that insists on not going away. It's as if a silent part of your consciousness knows that that person has an important role in your life, even if reason still tries to deny it. Carl Jung deeply valued intuition as a tool for perceiving inner reality. According to him, the unconscious not only guides us, but also warns us, alerts us, and often pushes us in the right direction through these subtle perceptions. When the universe wants to unite you with someone, it begins to align paths that once seemed distant. Different people start talking about the same person. Places that were once random start to have meaning. There is a kind of field of attraction that forms almost like an invisible magnetism. And when that field is activated, you feel it. He doesn't just think. Feel it in the body, in the heart, in dreams. It is a force that defies the ordinary. Another indication is the presence of emotional mirrors. This person begins to reflect parts of you that were hidden, repressed, or even forgotten. It is not just about affinity, but a true call to self-knowledge. Jung explained that when we find someone who activates our deepest emotions, whether they are good or challenging, we are in front of a mirror of our soul. The connection goes beyond personality. It touches wounds, activates memories, and, above all, awakens transformations. This can be uncomfortable. It may even seem that the relationship brings more confusion than peace at times. But this is one of the strongest signs. When someone arrives and completely changes their way of thinking, feeling, and acting. When the presence of the person forces you to grow, to review yourself, to leave behind old parts of yourself. This internal movement is living proof that it is not just a common relationship. The universe does not by chance unite two souls who have the power to heal or challenge each other. There is a greater purpose. And here comes another point that cannot be ignored: time. Sometimes the universe brings two people together at the right time, but it can also temporarily separate them so that they both evolve individually. When there is a true link, the connection remains alive even with distance. You feel it, you dream, you sense it, and suddenly, the reunion happens in an unlikely but perfect way. As if everything had been just a strategic pause so that both were ready. This patience, this waiting that does not wear out but strengthens, is another subtle and powerful sign. When there is no desperate anxiety, but rather a quiet confidence that if it is meant to be, it will be. Jung said that what resists, persists. But what is true comes back. And it comes back with more strength, more clarity, and more awareness. And even if the mind insists on seeking answers, it is the heart that recognizes it. He feels before he knows. And when everything inside of you starts vibrating at the same frequency as that person, it's as if the universe is finally saying, now you're ready. But there is more. There is a type of signal that does not come from outside, neither from encounters, nor from mirrors, nor from synchronicities. It arises within you, from a deep, almost sacred place. A silent call that, when ignored, turns into restlessness, and when listened to, it completely transforms the way you see love. There is a moment in every awakened soul's journey when inner silence speaks louder than any outer voice. That's when you realize that true connection doesn't start on the outside, it starts on the inside. Before you even find the right person, the universe quietly works on your inner preparation. And one of the most subtle yet most transformative signs that someone special is on the way is the feeling that something inside you has begun to change. For no apparent reason, you start looking for deeper answers. Your old patterns no longer work. You don't want the same distractions, the same empty relationships, the same repetitions. There is an uneasiness that seems to ask for something more true, more whole. Carl Jung called this the process of individuation, the way in which we become who we really are, integrating light and shadow, reason and emotion, conscious and unconscious. This process is not linear and often begins with a void. You feel that something is missing, but you still don't know what. And therefore, he begins an inner journey, seeking to understand himself better. Without realizing it, you're creating space. And the universe, which does not fill hearts full of noise, begins to approach silently. At this stage, another clear sign appears. You begin to be attracted to deeper content, books that speak to the soul, meaningful conversations, reflections that take you out of superficiality. There is no longer any patience for shallow relationships. You begin to protect your energy, to value silence, to choose better who you connect with. This movement is not random. It is the answer to an inner call. And behind that, there's a preparation being done. Because to recognize the right person, you need to recognize yourself first. It is often in this period of self-discovery that the most important transformations take place. You are faced with your wounds, with your fears, with old traumas that still echo. And then he begins to heal them. Not because someone from the outside asked you to, but because you understood that repeating patterns only delays the arrival of what is true. And it is exactly at this point that the universe begins to act more clearly. Because when you align yourself internally, when your heart is clean enough to see without projections, you become able to recognize the signs much more accurately. It is not uncommon for vivid, almost prophetic dreams to arise in this process. Jung saw dreams as bridges between the unconscious and the conscious, coded messages from the universe and the psyche. You may dream of an unknown figure, but one that conveys a familiar peace. Or with symbolic reunions. Or even with situations that seem banal, but that carry an intense emotional meaning. Dreams should not be ignored. They are not just random creations of the mind. They are dialogues between your deep self and the unseen forces that guide you. Another powerful sign at this time is peace without explanation. Even without knowing who is coming, you feel a strange confidence. As if something inside you knows the path is right. There is no anxiety, just surrender. This serenity is not the result of logic. It is the result of connection with something greater. It's as if the universe is saying, keep going. You're almost there. And perhaps the most beautiful of all signs is the ability to be alone without loneliness. When you begin to feel complete on your own, without depending on the presence of someone else to feel loved or whole, you enter a vibrational state that attracts exactly what you are ready to receive. The universe does not deliver great encounters to hearts that still beg attention. He delivers to those who are ready to share, not to complete themselves. And when that readiness arrives, the inevitable reunion happens. This is the most solid foundation of all, internal alignment. When mind, heart, and soul begin to move in the same direction, coincidences intensify, the right encounters accelerate, and the signs become impossible to ignore. And even though not everything is clear, you feel that you are being led. That each step, even the most uncertain, brings you closer to someone who is not enough to fulfill you, but to walk by your side. And that's where the real test happens. Because the universe doesn't just send external signals. He also observes his choices. How you react, what you accept, what you refuse. And this is where the last, and perhaps most decisive, signs appear. Signs that not only indicate that someone is coming, but that show if you are really ready to live this meeting to the fullest. Now that you understand how the universe prepares the inner ground for the meeting with someone special, we come to a crucial point: your choices. This is where many get lost, not for lack of signs, but for ignoring them. Jung said that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it destiny. In other words, the universe may show you the way, but it's up to you whether to follow it. From the moment you align yourself internally, the universe begins to test you through situations that require discernment. People from the past may reappear, old patterns may try to seduce you again, and illusory opportunities may seem promising. These tests are not traps, but invitations. Invitations to reaffirm who you have become and what you are willing to accept. They are like mirrors that ask you, are you really ready to live something new, or are you still stuck with what should have already ended? These moments of choice reveal more about you than any statement. How you respond to these situations shapes the frequency you emit, and that frequency is exactly what determines what and who you attract. If you say you want a true connection, but you continue to tolerate shallow relationships, the universe understands that you are not ready yet. Because the universe responds to your vibration, not your words. At this point in the process, many people feel confused. The question arises, am I making the right choice? What if I let someone important pass? But here comes one of the most subtle and accurate signs, lightness. When it is true, there is no weight. There is no pressure. There is not that suffocating anxiety. There is presence, clarity. The relationship flows, even with natural challenges. You don't have to force yourself to be someone you're not. You can breathe, be authentic, and still feel accepted. Jung reminds us that the soul recognizes what is its own. And when this connection appears, it brings a sense of recognition, of belonging. But, paradoxically, it also brings challenges, because growing up next to someone is not the same as settling down. Therefore, another great sign that the universe has brought you closer to someone with purpose is that this person drives you. Not in the sense of charging you, but of inspiring you. Being with her awakens the desire to evolve, to be better, to go deeper. These relationships are not made up of idealizations. They are built with truth, with presence, and with mutual choice. There is a constant energetic exchange, a natural balance between giving and receiving. And most of all, there's a sense that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Even in the silences. Even on difficult days. This deep peace is one of the clearest signs of alignment. Another important point is to observe the growth synchrony. When the universe unites two people with a purpose, it does not do so that one drags the other. It unites paths that, even though different, lead towards the same horizon. You begin to realize that the learnings complement each other, that the dreams align, and that, even if not everything is perfect, there is a genuine desire to walk together. And this desire to stay, to grow in partnership, is worth more than any passing passion. It is at this moment that many realize that true love does not scream. He doesn't beg, he doesn't demand. He arrives with presence and consistency. It shows itself in small gestures, deep conversations, the ability to listen, to respect the other's time, and to build something solid, brick by brick. And perhaps this is the greatest proof that the universe really put you on the right path. The relationship doesn't have to be forced to happen. But even in the face of all these signs, there is still one last and decisive element that can confirm or block this process. Something so essential that, if ignored, it can cause even the most promising of encounters to be lost in time. This element is within you and directly influences the way you live love, surrender, and real connection. It is what defines if you will be able to sustain the relationship you have asked for so much from the universe, or if he will sabotage it even before it blooms. We have now reached a decisive point in this journey: emotional self-awareness. So far, we have talked about synchronicity, intuition, inner alignment, and conscious choices. But there is one silent factor that can determine the success or failure of any connection the universe sends you: your ability to emotionally sustain what you so much want to live. And this is, perhaps, the most overlooked part of the whole process. Carl Jung taught us that everything we don't face inside us ends up manifesting itself on the outside as fate. This means that if you still carry unresolved wounds, deep-seated insecurities, or distorted expectations about love, they will inevitably emerge when someone real comes out. Not because that person caused it, but because they activated parts of you that were dormant. And that's where many confuse pain with a sign of error, when in fact it's just the soul asking for healing. Contrary to what many people think, finding the right person doesn't end the process, it just begins. The universe may join paths, but it is up to you whether you are willing to face the truth that this connection reveals. Because loving maturely requires emotional responsibility. It means to stop projecting your needs onto the other. It means understanding that no one has come to save you, fill you, or fix you. The other person is not a magical cure. He is, at most, a mirror. And mirrors sometimes show what we most avoid seeing. At this stage, the biggest internal challenges arise. The fear of surrendering, the fear of losing, the impulse to protect oneself. And, paradoxically, it is at this very moment that the universe observes the most. It wants to know if you are ready to choose love, even if you are afraid. Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it. Many people sabotage true relationships because they are still stuck in the past. Unresolved emotional burdens, old traumas, unconscious promises that I will never suffer again. All of this creates invisible barriers. And the truer the connection, the more these defenses are activated. This can lead to distancing, misunderstandings, unnecessary conflicts. But instead of seeing it as a problem, it is essential to see it as an opportunity for healing. The universe is showing you, through the relationship, what still needs to be transformed within you. Therefore, one of the most profound signs that the universe wants you to be with someone is the presence of an internal healing movement happening simultaneously with the bond. You feel challenged, yes, but also welcomed. There is room to be who you are, even with your imperfections. And little by little, love is no longer a battlefield to become a field of expansion. Another powerful signal is the ability to dialogue with vulnerability. When the universe sends you someone aligned, you can talk about fears, limits, desires, and shadows without it turning into accusation or dispute. There is fertile emotional ground, where communication becomes a tool for connection, not separation. And this is only possible when both are minimally aware of themselves. Jung said that finding oneself is the basis for any true encounter with the other. And when you get to that point, something changes. You stop seeking approval. Stop forcing snaps. Stop romanticizing suffering. And he begins to live love as it is. Imperfect, human, but deeply meaningful. And this is where the magic really happens. Because when two conscious people meet, love ceases to be a refuge from fear to become a lever for growth. Each conversation is a construction. Each difficulty, an invitation to evolve together. Each silence, an opportunity to feel. And most of all, there's a sense of shared mission. You feel like you're not just living in a relationship, you're living something bigger, something with purpose. All of this, however, is only possible if you are willing to let go of illusions and embrace real love, in all its intensity and complexity. And that requires delivery. Not a blind surrender, but a conscious surrender. The one that is born from the certainty that you are ready to live what you have asked for so much. And now that you understand all these signs, perhaps one last question remains. How to know clearly that you are living this type of connection? That this person is really a gift from the universe, and not just another repetition of old patterns? To answer this, we need to conclude this journey with the key that ties everything that has been said so far. After going through this entire journey, from the first signs to the emotional maturity needed to sustain a true connection, it's evident that when the universe wants you to be with someone, it doesn't just bring bodies closer together. It aligns souls. It reorganizes circumstances, disquiets the heart, provokes dreams, promotes cures, and, above all, tests your readiness. As we have seen, it is not a matter of passively waiting for a magic encounter. The universe works with those who are in motion, with those who consciously choose to step out of the old patterns, with those who decide, each day, to be a clean channel to receive what is true. Carl Jung said that the meeting between two personalities is like the contact between two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed. And that's exactly what happens when two people meet with their hearts awake and their souls ready. The signs are many, but they all point to one essential principle: true connection starts within you. Before you find someone out there, you need to find your own essence. You need to know yourself, accept yourself, heal yourself. Because no one comes to complete you, the right person comes to add to it. It finds you whole. And only then is there room for something real to flourish. Therefore, the true recognition of this person does not happen only by affinity or the intensity of the feeling. It happens when you find yourself growing up next to her. When silences are comfortable. When challenges do not drive away, but bring them closer. When there is truth, even in imperfections. When love is choice, not necessity. And more importantly, when there is peace. Not a peace that ignores conflicts, but a peace that remains even when they arise. A deep sense that, despite everything, you are exactly where you should be. This is not an illusion. This is presence. It is the vibration of alignment between what you feel, what you believe, and what you live. If you've made it this far, you may have experienced some of these signs. Perhaps you have felt that someone has marked your soul in an inexplicable way. Or maybe you're just beginning that awakening process. Whatever the stage of your journey, remember, the universe does not make mistakes. He just waits for you to be ready. And when you are, you won't have to chase after it, force connections, or get lost in constant doubts. You will simply know. Not with the mind, but with the heart. With that silent certainty that everything, absolutely everything, brought you to this moment. So trust. Take care of your energy. Heal what still hurts. Choose with conscience. And be mindful, because when the universe wants you to be with someone, it doesn't yell. He whispers, and hopes you're calm enough to listen. If this content has spoken to your soul, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we dive deep into the invisible messages that the universe sends us and seek self-knowledge together through the wisdom of Jung and so many other thinkers. Because understanding the signs is the first step to living a life with more meaning and with more love.